guys, Mary Languish here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to take you through sort of the process of how to mix skin tones, different skin tones in acrylic paint. It's helpful to have kind of an understanding of color theory before you jump into this video, but as I go I'll kind of talk about things, so hopefully you have a little bit of an understanding about that. If you're interested, I do have a whole course on color mixing in 3 different mediums: acrylic, watercolor, and colored pencil. So if that interests you, if you want to kind of learn more about color, go check that out. It's in the description below. Now, one thing I want to say is that skin tones, no matter the race, ethnicity, or whatever, they all kind of start from the same basic colors. You're going to be using your primaries with white. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to kind of dive into what that looks like and do each skin tone one at a time. Also, skin tone is very much affected by the lighting in the room, the highlights, the shadows. Also, if you're working from a photo, it could be just the way the photo is. If you're working from a screen, the way the screen is projecting the color. There's so many different ways that color is affected, and so it's really mostly about training your eye to look at a color and to copy that color. So let's get started. Okay, so what I have here is some little cutouts of skin tones just from like magazines, so hopefully the glare doesn't show up because they're a little shiny. But a few things to remember: that skin tones have so much variety with the lighting, with the highlights and the shadows, with even just the way the photo was taken, the room that it was taken in, things around the face that are reflecting on the face. So I'm just going to be color matching basically. That's really all it is training your eye to see colors. See the colors within colors and be able to mix those accurately. And the one thing I want to point out is that you want to kind of narrow down what the local color of the skin tone is. It's not the color that's the highlight. It's not the color that's in the shadow. It's right in between. That's the color you want to mix as your base. And that's what I'm going to try to go for skin tone for each of these. I may or may not add, some highlights or shadows or whatever to it to add that variety of value. But what I have here is Liquitex Basics Acrylics. I've got just their yellow, orange, the cadmium red, the crimson red, ultramarine, the primary blue, the phthalo blue, which is really blue-green, very potent. I put a little bit of black, I might not use it, and then white. So just got it all laid out here. I'm going to do all my mixing here and then put them here and work kind of quickly. So pause if you need to, or ask questions in the comments. So let's start with this one. Now with skin tones, you are really working with your primaries, your yellows, reds, blues. I put orange there just to simplify that a little bit. I've got 3 different blues. You have to be careful because you don't want to incorporate green, because there might be some skin tones that are a little bit more on the olive side, have a little bit of green hue to them. But green just is kind of a no-no with skin tone because you're going to just overpower. You can always add more blue. You can always add more yellow, but try to avoid like straight up green. So I didn't put green on my palette for that reason. So with this color, you can start with what stands out to you as the main color and then kind of you're working with a lot of white. Because our skin tones tend to be on the creamy side. No matter how dark or light, there's going to be sort of a little bit of a tint to them. And so I'm starting with just sort of a base, which obviously isn't going to be accurate, right? But if I add a little bit of maybe red to that, sometimes you're working with trying to create a purple color, but you're trying to keep things warm. Like that's way too purpley, but it's closer, maybe a little bit more orange. Maybe a touch more yellow. I guess I didn't put any yellow. Let's try that. Again, looking for the local color. It could almost be a little more orange. And I'm just color matching what I see. I'm not incorporating highlights. But if I were, I could do white. It's a warmer highlight. So a highlight could look something like maybe a little bit on the cooler side too. Ooh, see, now I've incorporated green. I have to be careful. I want to balance that out by adding a little bit of red so that I don't have green. So that could be a highlight there. Maybe more white. But I think that's what I'm seeing as sort of the local color of that skin tone. Let's jump down to here. It's pretty red as the base. That's too red. But if I add in more white, a little bit of yellow, and then start to work my blues. I might do a little bit of primary blue and see, ooh, that's a little bit on the green side, but you know, which is okay. You can kind of go slowly. That's the thing about color mixing, is you want to work your way up. That's better. I still think a little bit more red, maybe a little bit more orange. Warm it up a little bit. Looks kind of like, yeah, so see, it's a little bit more. That's not incorporating the highlights or the shadows, but that's sort of the local color. Down here, this looks very much like there's something orange or red in the room reflecting, or just the way the print was done. But we're going to go for that color there, which fairly orange as the base, making it creamy with the white, adding in a little more yellow and white. And then I think I'm going to add a little bit of crimson here. Just feels like it needs to go deeper. Might need to add in more white. You're kind of just doing you're jumping around a little bit. I think maybe a touch. I like what that did to that color. It greened it up just a touch. Neutralized it up just a little bit. Oh, I need a little more orange. I think I'm happy with that. Now, one thing to keep in mind with acrylic is it does dry. It dries darker. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. Sometimes you go a little bit lighter than you think, just so that when it dries. But obviously you're going for your medium tone, and so you can always fix highlights and deepen things as you go, and it's a process. So probably more of an orange base, maybe a little bit more red. Red, orange going on here. I could use this, I guess. Let's go for a little bit of cream. Let's go more yellow. I like calling white cream for some reason. Don't eat it, but I'm going to add in a little bit of this blue, a little bit of white, and just see how that looks there. Yeah, I'm liking the use of the primary blue, because I know we said you don't want to add green, but I think it's just enough yellow with blue to kind of create just the neutralizing effect that you need. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. And that's that kind of in between. It's not the darks and it's not the lights, though. That's something you can add on top of that, which let me try that with this one here. Add a little bit of highlights. Are pretty warm, but they're pretty much going to be creamy. Let me just see what that looks like as a base. A little bit more. Yep, and then just maybe a little bit more white on the major highlights. So you can see how you can use it to kind of create that volume. For darker areas, you'd be just going in with more. You want to almost create a purple as a base, because purple is great for skin tone. So an ultramarine blue with like a crimson, just to create a base color. Then do what you need to do to warm that up. And sometimes you still have to put a tint in there. Something like that. Oh, maybe a little. I'm going to go for the blue just to neutralize it slightly. So highlight or shadow could be kind of like that. You can mix it. The thing about skin tones is there's so much variety. So you're basically mixing, constantly remixing and mixing and lightening and darkening to create, you know, some variety. That can go even darker. I think if I go with this here with a little bit more of that, a little bit of this, I think it needs a little yellow. Yeah, so see how more neutral that is? I'm working on top of wet stuff, so it's kind of pulling it up. But that's kind of an example of lights and darks with your medium, your local color, sort of as the base. But let's keep going. We're going to go warm. I'd like starting with orange. Orange or red is a good place to kind of start. Then let's go for blue. Keep things warm though. You don't want to get too green. If it starts to get too green, add in the complement. Add in some red or orange. I'm going to go for neutralizing this. It's a little too red. We need a little bit of cream. And that cream is going to actually pull out the colors that maybe are too strong. So I think that's too cool, right? We need to add a little bit of orange. Actually, let's do red with a little bit of yellow. And you're just slowly building it up. Slowly, slowly, slowly. It's still, I think, more cream, more yellow. Yeah, I think I like that. Let's see. To cover the darker stuff I put down to make sure. And this picture has a lot of highlights in it, so I'm avoiding those highlights. The leading up to the highlight though, like closer to the highlights, almost on the pink side. So there's a little bit more of red and white to create those highlights, but that's a good starting spot for that. Then, let's see. This is going to be fairly light, so I'm going to start with white as my base and add in a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow. Sometimes it's scary how much it jumps so quick to the next color. More white. We need more white and more red. I think it's just a little too... I'm going for that. Sometimes it's hard to identify, let's go crimson, what the local color is, because it's like, oh, it's really washed out with the lighting, and so it's hard to tell. I think, oh yeah, there we go. It's a little bit pinker. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Okay, moving on. This is you can almost tell that the color in the room or the way the photograph was taken is a little bit blue. It's pretty blue, but we're going to go for that color. So I'm going to maybe stick with this as the base, add blue to it. Then add red back in. Okay, it's kind of purple, right? But it's actually closer than I thought. Let's add a little orange. Maybe a little bit of white to cool it down. Maybe a little bit of this blue. It's still like... a little more orange, I think. Eesh, this one's tricky. Green, white. Okay, I think I got it. Because it's a little bit warmer right on the cheekbone anyway, so that's kind of what it looks like to me right there. And then this one, let's see. We want to start maybe with a cooler base with some orange and yellow and cream. And just compare. Sometimes you gotta just put it next to it to see, okay, how far am I? How close am I? Adding in my blues here, adding in more white to kind of offset. A little bit more on the pink side. Okay, that's closer. Maybe a little bit more ultramarine. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. That might be a little weird as it dries because I can see red streakies in it, but good place to start. This one, a lot warmer for the base. Ooh, got too much water. And then cream. And I'm just kind of, you can see I mix kind of like I'm using oil. Just kind of keep my brush. I did rinse my brush, but it's okay because you're working with all the same colors if your colors are kind of mixing. Let's just see what that local color looks like. A little bit redder and maybe a touch of this neutral, this color to neutralize it just a touch. It's still pretty warm. Yeah, I'm liking that. I think that looks like the local color to me. You could go a touch darker by just adding more of those colors to get a little bit variety in the values there. But basically that. One more page. I just wanted to give you a variety of options, a variety of examples so that you feel like you understand. This is pretty washed out with the light, but we're still going for local color. A little bit on the warmer side. I think cooler red, a little bit of blue, more red, more blue, maybe a touch of, let's do orange. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good for that, again with darks and lights. This one, kind of a weird lighting again, it's very blue. And this is all just compared to the white around the picture and everything. Like color is very much affected by what's around it. And so you have to kind of keep that in mind if you're trying to mix things accurately. I'm going to start with white. I'm going to add in a little bit of this cool red and this blue-green. Well, it's blue. I haven't touched this over here, by the way. I think I'm afraid because it's going to look really blue. It's just too green. This needs more white, I think. Going for kind of there we go. Very creamy, kind of blue gray. Got kind of a blue streak in it, but that's kind of the color. Local color, again, it's kind of that in between. It's not the highlight, not the dark, dark. And then last but not least, this one here, very washed out again too, but this is a good one to point out local color. So we got some major highlights, which is kind of a washout highlight, and then some of the shadow peeking in here. So we're going for this pretty pink. So I'm going to go for the reds to start. I can put that down just so you can see. Too pink maybe, right? Add a little bit of white, yellow. Oop, too much yellow, more white. Too much white, more red. Maybe more. I almost want to put a little bit of this blue. I'm liking this blue. This primary blue. Stick that in here. Still looks too yellow, I think. Going for red. It's still too yellow. More red. I think that's better. More blue. It's interesting how the more subtle it is, the harder it is to mix. There we go. I think I'm happy with that. So, there you have it. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Please give it a like. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more art content like this. And don't forget about that color mixing course down in the description below if you'd like to learn more in-depth color theory, color mixing in 3 different mediums. We'll see you next time. Bye!